What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lost Boy Skates podcast. I'm your host, Lost Boy Skates. You can find us on Instagram at Lost Boy Skates 88 or at Lost Boy Skates Podcast. Today, I have some great and exciting news for you guys. We have our first official sponsor for the podcast. It's Reaper Apparel Company. This is a clothing company that also does many, many things for the mental health community. I'm really happy to be a part of this because, as you guys know, I've worked in mental health and substance abuse for the past 16 years. So this was just something that once it dropped into my lap, I accepted immediately. They sent me this awesome hoodie. It's one of my favorite colors, green. I got a hat and I also got a t-shirt. Clothes and hoodies are very form fitting. So if you do get anything from the apparel company, make sure that you get the next size up if you want to have baggier clothes. I like my clothes a little tighter, so large, it fits me perfectly. But if you want that baggier effect and you normally wear like a large, I would say size up to an extra large. And again, extra large, size up to a double XL. Um, give you guys a little background. Repo Apparel Company was founded in 2020 during the pandemic while the founder was experiencing increased mental health issues. I know during the pandemic, I had my own mental health issues, working in the field and still trying to maintain a family life, working crazy hours, but still trying to make sure that people were in treatment. It was really difficult. I ended up having several breakdowns during that point and at least one on the job. So taking care of yourself is really, really important. One of my favorite quotes from the bio from them is he talks about happiness is a state of mind. You choose to find what it means to you, and what Reaper hopes to do is inspire people to find themselves and to find their own happiness and to be their true selves. So when I had the opportunity to team up with Reaper Apparel Company, I took it. There was no reason why I shouldn't take it. Um, they're sending me a box of stuff. I've got at least 3 t-shirts on the way to give away during the contest starting April 1st. And for the next 8 months, we're going to have a best trick series. I'm really excited for it because we're going to do all the parks here in Delaware. Um, and the community is going to be involved and they're going to pick the winners. And the winners are going to get not only a $50 gift card to the local skate shop of their choice, but also some fabulous prizes from our sponsors, Reaper Apparel Company and Skateboards for All, Pond Scum Skate Wax, and Ram Skateboards so far, First State Skate Supply as well. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping to get a couple more sponsors signed on before the end of it. But these are the current sponsors, and I'm really excited for it. If you have a chance, check out their Instagrams and follow them. Okay. So, what I really wanted to talk today about was history. I'm a big history nerd. I love World War II history. I love knowing where something was and how it got to where it's at now. Um, I'm big on the U.S. history. I'm big on military history and wars and investigations and things like that. So I started thinking about the history of skateboarding in Delaware, and what really inspired that was I was watching a 1986 contest. It was Gotcha Grind in Seattle, Washington. And one of the skaters there steps up on the ramp, and his name is Ned Peanut Brown. And they mentioned he was from Wilmington, Delaware. And I was like, whoa, 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 wait, wait, wait. We have pros from that far back. And so I started looking into it, and then another name popped up. And it just so happens he was the first professional skateboarder from Delaware, and his name is Chuck Treece. He was originally born in Newark, Delaware in 1964. He attended John Dickinson High School. He started skating at about 11 years old, which is circa like 1975. In 2020, Chuck did an interview with Zembo's Temple of Skate and Design, an awesome skate shop up in Philadelphia. You should check them out. Follow them on Instagram. I really like. They put on punk shows. They do art gallery events. Dude, check them out, please. But in that interview, he talked about how he transitioned from baseball to skateboarding. He continued to explain that when he'd go down to the beaches, he would try to emulate the surfers in their movements, right? Or in his movements. And I remember watching these contests from the 80s and just thinking, like, these guys are literally surfing on these ramps. They're literally doing surf maneuvers on these ramps. And I think it was Savannah Slammer 3 in 1989 where they have a quarter pipe. It's a huge quarter pipe, and they paint it like a wave. And every time somebody was doing a trick on it, it really looked like they were really surfing. It was really cool to see. But that's how it was. And from the 70s into the 80s, even into the early 90s, you're talking about guys basically sidewalk surfing all the time. And it was really cool how that transition happened. A lot of surfers became skateboarders, right? And a lot of skateboarders surfed. So getting back to Chuck, he moved to Philadelphia in 1982 due to quote unquote being tired of high school, as well as the local skate park shutting down, which I'm speculating he's referring to Easy Rider, which was a skate park in Wilmington, Delaware. Um, it opened in the 70s, I believe 1975. I don't have a lot of history on it. I'm still looking in to find more information on Easy Rider. Um, anyways, around that time, he got his first professional sponsor, which was Madrid Skateboards. Um, Chuck also had a picture in Thrasher magazine around this time of him doing his stylish rock and roll. But that wouldn't be the last time that he would be featured in Thrasher magazine. Um, just 2 years later, in 1984, Chuck Treece was the first black skateboarder to be featured on the cover of Thrasher magazine. He was doing a frontside layback rollout, essentially what some would call a frontside layback tail slide. Uh, Very stylish. I love the picture of it. But on top of being the first black skateboarder on the cover of Thrasher, he was also on the cover of the last fully black and white issue of Thrasher magazine. At the time, Chuck was sponsored by Madrid Skateboards, Galway Trucks, and OJ Wheels. During another interview with Geezer Skate Company, he stated that the Thrasher cover got him additional sponsors such as Thunder Trucks. Between 1982 and 1990, Chuck would go on to be sponsored by Pal Peralta, Santa Cruz, Airwalk, and Vans. He further mentioned in that same interview that the cover also gave hope to sponsors and others that the East Coast skate scene was still alive. It allowed him to connect sponsors with East Coast skaters. Chuck didn't have to connect sponsors with East Coast skaters. He really didn't. But he gave back to the community that gave him a lot as well. Um, I love that reciprocal relationship between Chuck and skateboarding. And you'll see that with his music career as well. But at the time in the 80s, um, skateboarding was starting to die. I like to call it the first skateboarding dark ages because then it would happen again later in the like mid 90s as well until the X Games hit. Um, but with that being said, him and a lot of other skaters had to transition from skating like bowls to trying to skate street because now street skating was becoming more regular because a lot of skate parks were shutting down, just like Easy Rider did in 82. Um, so continuing on talking about Chuck, Chuck Treece is also known for his music career. He played in a skate punk band called McRad, which is probably one of the most well-known bands he was in. McRad was featured in the Bones Brigade videos Public Domain and Ban This. He also had a song or two in Savannah Slammer, the first event in 1987 when they released it on video. They had a couple of McRad songs in it. He also played bass line in Billy Joel's The River of Dreams, as well as did vocals and played drums in The Bad Brains. River of Dreams is one of my favorite Billy Joel songs. I believe it came out in the 90s, and I remember my brother watching it on MTV, and I was like, dude, this song is really good. Um, and I grew up listening to Billy Joel because my family likes to listen to more of like those oldies, 80s, music around that time, like soft rock. Um, I was introduced to the Bad Brains in high school by a bunch of my friends that I skated with, and I became a lifelong fan. Their ability to mix reggae and metal and punk all into one beautiful package is just amazing. I have their record where they played live at CBGB's, and it's just so good. Just the transitions from a quick punk song to reggae to like a more metal song was just so good. And like you don't get that often, and for somebody to be that versatile and play with them, it takes a lot of talent. um Recently I had the opportunity to meet Chuck and his son Kieran at Wilmington Skate Park. Uh, it was a really crazy experience because had just been talking to a friend of mine, James, who runs First State Skate Supply, about how it would be really cool to meet Chuck and just be able to have a brief conversation with him. And here it is, almost a week, 2 weeks later, and I'm running into him at Wilmington Skate Park. Um, it was really cool. He was crazy humble and just open to interacting with everyone. I talked about fangirling over Mike Vallely. At first I had kind of like the same nervous jitters meeting Chuck, but he was so warm and open and his energy was just so positive that like I was able to open up and have a real conversation with him and not feel like that feeling that you get when you're talking to somebody who is like in high esteem, right? He shared some stories about Easy Rider and his experiences with skateboarding. I think if I had one question that I could ask him, I would ask him, what was it like being a black skateboarder in the early days of skateboarding? Most people probably realize this, but skateboarding was mostly white people, right? And only in the past, I'll say maybe 30 years, you've really started to see people from other cultures and other countries jumping into skateboarding and really building it and bringing this new energy to it and just bringing the community together. If you go to a skate park, that is probably one of the only places I've ever been, aside from shows, where it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, Spanish, nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares if you're gay, straight, trans, nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares what your religion is. Nobody cares. And not in an insensitive way. It's just that those things aren't important. We care about each other because we're a family. We support each other. And that's what skateboarding is supposed to be about. And that's probably one of my favorite things about Chuck. I've read a bunch of his interviews. I've watched several videos of him in interviews, and he's always talking about wanting to bring that positive energy with skateboarding. And to be able to interact with someone like that, on top of also just being a part of the community myself, I really got to see that. He's talking the talk and he's walking the walk. His son Kieran is very similar, and I had a lot of fun skating with him. Kieran is just so humble, and really we were just pushing each other and feeding off that energy, and it was just felt so good. Um, Kieran shared with me, though, that his dad helped support FDR and Wilmington Skate Park. And during my research, I found that for 15 years, nearly, Chuck helped support getting a skate park built in Philadelphia. And after that, FDR was built, right? The skaters got the chance to build FDR. And I think he played a major role in that, even if he wasn't there while it was getting built and whatnot. The fact that he went out of his way and advocated to build that community up, guess what? The skateboard community in Philadelphia and Delaware owe him a debt of gratitude. And I think that we reciprocate that by continuing to have that energy, by continuing to help advocate and get skate parks built in all the cities where kids have nothing to do, right? I grew up with nothing to do and I got in a lot of trouble. And when I got introduced to skateboarding, my life changed, right? And along with skateboarding came music, of course. So I find myself relating to Chuck a lot in that sense. Um, and I hope I get more chances to meet with him. I actually got a picture with him. My buddy TJ was in it and Kieran jumped in. It was awesome. And I hope I get more chances to interact with him um, in the future. And maybe one day in the future, he'll come on the podcast and I'll have a few minutes to talk with him. I think that would be probably one of the highlights of my life right there. So with that being said, thank you for checking out today's episode. I want to thank everybody who's liked, subscribed, and left me comments. It's been nothing but positive energy. It's encouraging me to keep putting these videos out. Um, I'm going to keep doing history videos. I'm going to keep doing some interviews in between while I'm doing my research and watching more. The next history video I'm probably going to do is on Ned Peanut Brown, another person who I'd love to meet and be able to kind of interact with him in some way, shape, or form. Don't forget to check out the podcast Instagram as well as my personal Instagram, Lost Boy Skates 88 and Lost Boy Skates Podcast, because I'm going to be posting on April 1st the first park and the first obstacle that is going to be featured for the best trick contest. I want to see some sick shit go down, and I'm really hoping that this is going to be a fun experience for everybody involved. Listen, take care and keep skating.